Hello. I don't know if this already started. Probably. I should probably do things properly. Like have like a nice little loading screen or whatever. But I mean, we're already here. So, it's me. Yes, I know. What is this? Oh, okay. I'm just doing some random time. I've probably done this like before. It doesn't look cool. I'm absolutely not supposed to, but I mean, you never know. They could hit me up tomorrow. You kind of like you do. You're trying to get to know us or whatever. And you know what I would say? It's like it's very rare to it's taking over, but like focus, like a lot of them take over. But that is actually because he's a good guy. Because he's genuine, wants to solve problems, and he doesn't think humans are like equipped to solve them. Google is like super well positioned for this new AI age. So yeah. By the way, I love the fact that I'm like getting 0 views on this. I think that's awesome. It's not about the views anyway. It's just about the arbitrage opportunity. Like I could be doing this all by myself, but if I'm doing this and generating content, leaving some kind of digital footprint that can be traced back, I it becomes like pretty obvious to understand like what the best thing I should be doing is. Listening to jazz today as well. I am starting to like jazz. I'm also starting to like this project that we're building right now. Mind you, there has been some huge changes, right? So previously we were just like scoping things out. Like we were thinking of going the direction of setting up some kind of simple super base to like set up some stuff. But you know, sorry, I would love to be able to text and type, but like I can't help but speak the words, and like it would be weird. Okay, never mind. So, as I was saying, we were going to set up like a simple database to sort of understand where things were gonna go, but I had, I guess, an idea in the morning today. That was to do an investigation on how other people are doing search, and I realized that what they use is this thing called a knowledge graph. Um, and you may or may not have seen it before. Actually, you may not have seen it before. It's something that looks like this, right? It's something that can track relationships between vertices or nodes in this case. So previously, if you don't remember, what we were testing out was something that could ingest like any piece of information or pieces of information, and then generate some metadata, right? Um, so like it would look at the word count, the number of input tokens and things, and then it would basically categorize that, right? It would say, okay, this is like everything we're learning from this, um, you know, these are some facts that we're learning, and then this is everything that gets mentioned, along with how related it is to anything else. Again, this is just for like, I guess it's proof of concept purposes. Like if we like, I think this type of data actually needs a really strict go through to actually make it more semantically useful. But we are building the infrastructure just for now. We're just building the shell, and then we can tweak the underlying logic later on, right? For right now, it's still building the shell, so we'll figure things out as we go. But yes, it would take in all of this data, and yeah, previously that's all we could do. All we could do was just like we had figured out the prompt for getting this data, and then there was nothing else that we did. And mind you, like we were actually managing to extract like some really useful data, like this these types of relations, any mentions, of course, and all of this was just coming from like straight HTML, and all of it was getting extracted and then put in a simple database. Now, the database previously was just a normal RDBMS, right? Relational database with like a bunch of tables. Um, After doing my research this morning, I realized that RDBMS, like a simple relational database table, or relational database schema, was just not going to cut it, especially when it comes to search. Like I thought I could just somehow create some embeddings and then embed everything. But then I learned that what the industry is actually normally using, like to solve this, is knowledge graphs. And I've been teaching myself how they work ever since, and dude, I have to say, it's amazing, right? Now I've managed to make a bunch of changes, um, and yeah, I guess I can like go through everything honestly. So yeah, this morning what we did was we transitioned the operational database structure from Postgres to a graph vector hybrid. But we were sort of scoping it out because we wanted to do it with like Neo4j, and little did I know that that was probably the wrong path. And the reason behind that is just because I would have had to pay for something that I was only scoping out. Like I was still investigating whether or not this would be like the right decision to make. And so literally buying Neo4j immediately would have been a bad choice, right? So obviously I took it in my own hands, did some research on any not competitors but alternatives, and I found ArcadeDB. So this is ArcadeDB, and it is pretty flippin' amazing. Like not only do you have database, and you can query in literally, you can query in SQL, you can query in Cypher, which is the language that I don't know if it was invented by Neo4j, but they use it in their stuff, and it's a really interesting language that I don't know how to query in, but I do know how to query in as well. But I don't know how to query in OpenCypher, which is pretty. OpenCypher is pretty cool because um, the way you query is like you do like direct relationships, and like you're always pointing at things with like arrows, which kind of makes sense here because everything is connected through arrows anyway. But yeah. So right now this is actually a cipher query, which is basically dragging out all of the vertices and edges that we have, and then just displaying everything entirely in one page, like match n with n. So match literally everything and just like display it. And there's a lot of stuff. Of course, this is the graph view. I could go into the table view, and it looks so funny. One thing you will notice though is the fact that there are embeddings here. And embeddings are good for what? For vector searches. So here's the direction that we're gonna go now, right? The vector part is super important, right? You have to be able to understand what someone is trying to say based on the words that they use, right? So that's important. After doing so, if I have a query, if I query the system, it turns my query into some vector query, and then it uses that vector query to find matches that exist over here. You might be wondering how it does that. It does this thing called cosine similarity, which is like if you imagine like two vectors, their cosine similarity is based on how parallel they are, not just parallel, but how maybe you could even say collinear. You know? So if you had two concepts that were literally the same, their cosine similarity would be like a 1 because it's like completely true. They're like collinear, whatever. That's basically what it's trying to find. So it would use these embeddings to find vectors which have high cosine similarity and then return those only above a certain threshold, right? And mind you, this threshold was added retroactively in testing, and like I'll explain that as we go through the change logs. But yeah, we we figured out that we could actually like add things, but then when we tried to retrieve them, it would retrieve like anything because it was just trying to retrieve like any top k equals 3 without actually trying to figure out whether or not those things are worth retrieving in the first place. So like imagine for a query that just like we don't have information on that, like it's not supposed to return anything, and yet if it still absolutely tries to return something, then it's doing something wrong. Okay. And again, like this is a system in development. Like there's been so many times where um literally the entire database has been scrapped and then the pipeline has been reran in the space of like the last 3 hours, which is, I guess that's just like the case, you know, with developing anything like this. But it's also my first time messing around with knowledge graphs, so I can't really say that I'm like the best at this, but what I can say is this is really fucking cool. This is exciting. Like when I was like a few days back, like last week, we were watching a Google video, and like back there they were saying some stuff about, oh, they figured out this PageRank algorithm, and I just thought it was like an algorithm for like figuring out how related one website is to another, and then like using that relationship to rank websites highly based on their connections to like authoritative websites. And obviously authority was based on various variables like backlinks and visitors and search volume and things like that. You like when you think about that, it's really simple. And then today I realized that there was like a knowledge graph aspect to it, like to the extent where Google has been building a crazy knowledge graph of the entire internet, which allows them to be able to match things when you search. So I'm gonna search this, and like all of this information, all of these images, it's part of some stuff, and like even this, like they probably have a lot of information, and they pull it like literally in I don't even know how many seconds. Yes, Netanyahu. Okay. they're able to pull all of this information in like a few seconds, which is pretty insane. Like the previous office, they party, their spouse, education. They've got profiles. They've got related people. You can only get this type of insight if you actually imagine that Netanyahu is like a node in some massive network that Google has, and they're able to immediately like embed this word Netanyahu and then find the most related query and then immediately zero in on that and then immediately traverse like a few nodes, a few surrounding nodes to find Netanyahu's information and any related people and any related news stories. And then finally they're able to drag out all of the related websites, and then they structure all of that like in this nice looking interface, which is insane. Like it's insanely good for humans, right? But like as I explained before, the web is changing, so this kind of insane information, I genuinely believe like an AI agent would love to have this context obviously squished down. Like you don't want to have to ingest like a bunch of HTML. It's just way too much, and it bloats the context window, and agents won't really like appreciate something like that. So, which is why, like, if Google was able to get this done, I genuinely think that like solving the similar problem just for agents and like making the information really easy to ingest for agents is like super huge, and like it's a no-brainer why that would effectively change the way people use their agents. Like they won't be so worried about agents chewing through tokens, because they will finally have like a relevant source of information that is constantly updating. Literally, this was updated like 5 minutes ago. It's constantly updating, constantly figuring things out, and then building building a network of relationships of how pieces of information are related to other pieces of information like this. Which that's what I'm going for. Like yes, Google was like awesome, and maybe it still is for like humans or whatever. Alright, like I'm having a good time looking through this, but agents, I don't think they want this. And like when I say they want, like I'm saying the internet was not built for agents, right? So like we need to envision a new type of internet that's going to behave differently, of course. So yeah, I mean, after figuring out that like Google was building like the entire how Google searches work, how any like modern search engine works is through knowledge graphs, it became pretty obvious like the direction I should go. And this was why like we started out in Neo4j, and then we soon moved away from Neo4j. So yeah. And then finally, this is today, like in the morning. I think this new changelog was added, but yeah, we added a cipher wrapper so that we could actually like send requests, because we're finally building the MCP wrapper for this. And again, like that's not fully functional. What is somewhat mostly functional is the relational mapping in the back, but the MCP connection, I'm still yet to test that, and I think you actually watch me test and build that out. And then yeah, so there was like some bunch of legacy SQL that we were using. As I said, we were previously using like simple SQL, but we're moving away from that to start using start building out knowledge graphs. And the CLI Unicode thing, so it was having difficulty mapping like some special characters, and that was fixed, which is nice. And then there was also like a data nullification bug where it would like insert vertices into the network, but they wouldn't have like proper information like encoded in them, and so that was fixed. And yeah, and then the latest fix was a parameterization bug. So here it says identified and bypassed a bug where RKDB's cipher driver incorrectly maps JSON arrays to Java list objects, transitioning vector storage logic in core to use native SQL string interpolated update command to persist vector embeddings cleanly. So basically, you can imagine this as every time we tried to do an insert, it would get rid of already existing parameters and just rewrite them, which meant that we couldn't link properly when we were trying to retrieve information, and that basically fixed that. And of course, like, yeah, this is actually where we added the vector embedding engine. We're using Gemini embedding to natively generate like a bunch of like 3,000 dimensional vector embeddings, which is a lot of dimensions, but it's the least that we actually need. To a large extent, I'm not even sure how Google is like setting up their systems. I was trying to do like a bit of comparative research on like who I should be modeling this against. Like I found like 3 different companies that are like top tier that are trying to solve search for the agentic web, and like I want to look deeper into like how they're solving these problems just to get some insights on like, and validation of course. But yeah, and then I mean there's like quite a lot of things. Let me show you how the retriever looks when it's actually working. So there's like this file called testretrieval.py, and it basically like has a bunch of queries, and then we're also tracking the amount of time it takes to validate, like to actually resolve. So this means we send a query to the API or the MCP. It's still budding, like I wouldn't really call it fully functional, but we send a request and then we calculate how much time it takes for information to get sent back, and this means it vectorizes the query, it finds the most relevant source node or vertex, it traverses the vertex finding like 3 other related pieces of information, grabs all of that, formats it into a nice text way that a model will understand based on the query itself. So you could imagine maybe in the future we will obviously expand this, like this is just a test, but we will expand this and then we'll start accepting parameters. So it won't just be the content of, you know, a web page or a query or whatever. It might also be you know, what tone is it, what are the 3 most related things, you know, things like that, like really drilling down. Basically we will allow models to drill in and like find relations all by themselves. Yeah, but it's pretty cool. So it's able to do exactly that. Like when you ask it what's the difference between RAG and context windows. Actually, let me just rerun this because this is a just to show you how. So like it does retrieval benchmarks. Okay. So yeah, almost 2 seconds, but still it's able to collect a lot of information, and this is like relevant information because it finds information on LLMs, and yeah, the only reason it's saying found in document none, this document is actually supposed to be like either a website link or just something that would point someone to where this information comes from. So I'm thinking it has to probably be like website links. And yeah, like it finds a proper claim and then the abstract to that, just to make it understand. One other thing I'm noticing is that we might be having like duplications of, like when we have a source duplication, we don't need to return the duplicate text. So I'm talking about the extra, the abstract. Looking at the retrieval logic. Okay, that's fine. And yeah, it's able to like make connections and then traverse and find a relation, combines language models, and then it gets the other relations, and then it finds the claims related to those relations, which is pretty cool. Again, there is supposed to be a situation where we just genuinely don't have information or context, um, but whenever we do, it should be able to like flag that and say, hey, there's genuinely nothing here. But this is like really solid. So you could imagine if if you ask your model some piece of information and then it has to go and search the internet, it literally just ingests a bunch of like HTML data and then it has to make sense of everything all by itself. If it could have like a really good source of relevant like modern information that it could rely on, it won't have to ingest all the data and then figure things out by itself. Right? It can actually outsource some of, if not its thinking, its understanding. That's funny. It's related to something I just saw today. But yeah, um, I think we're making like really good progress. Um, so yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's been a bunch of other changes we made. I realized that there was going to be an issue where if someone searched LLM and they just use like lowercase, they could absolutely like not get the information they want just because it's lowercase, and we don't want that. Oh, yeah, it's fine. We don't want that. So let me run through this actually. But yeah, let me show you a bit more of the ArcadeDB. ArcadeDB is so cool. It's so cool. This is it's the schema. We have a bunch of buckets. Oh wow, it's pretty cool. Indexes, which is really interesting. Like when I was learning about this, I think it was one of the ladies from, was she like customer success from Neo4j. She said something about indexes, and she said it's like knowledge graphs have this method where like you don't have to index everything to get access to things, which makes it easier for memory and makes things like really quick for you. especially when you want to get like a ton of information at once. Um, the fact that you can like traverse things just through like memory pointers uh, makes it so so much quicker to get relevant information quick. Like, and I'm absolutely getting this. Okay, we have the dictionary, the database metrics, and as you can tell, there's been like quite a lot of rollbacks. um, Read operations, delete operations. Let's move on. So here, oh, okay, this is interesting. So I'm guessing we could create time series here. That's interesting. Okay, this is worth looking at in the future. And we're actually running this locally on a Docker server. We had to install Docker just to make this happen. And we also chose a name. I really love this name, Darkstratum. But yeah, we are chowing a lot of RAM and having a lot of fun while doing it. So yeah. Anyway, oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is some login stuff. This is the HTTP reference, which is kind of interesting how we can hit this and get information, you know, as long as we have like proper API key set up. We're also getting information just through Docker itself since we have access to that. And there's like apparently AI integration as well, because like everything has AI integration these days. But you'd have to subscribe, and we're not going to do that. The only reason we got this was just to iterate quickly and to start developing things as quickly as possible. Let's actually test out the Python. Okay, so it fixed this, and now instead of printing out the source abstract, it's just printing out all the abstracts at the bottom. And now I kind of want to test out the MCP server baby that we have. So let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting an error. Okay, we'll let him figure that out. I was watching this. I kind of like these relentless podcast stuff. This guy has a crazy obsession with Elon Musk, by the way. And you know what? It makes sense. Elon Musk is Elon Musk, you know. It makes sense. I also have a small obsession with Elon Musk. More importantly, I got a Google Ultra subscription. So now I'm like generating these videos. I actually want to be more intentional with this video generation, by the way. I want to start. There's this guy on X. I really like his content. His name is Bone. His content is like mostly slop.
This is what the Christian existentialist philosopher Soren Kierkegaard had claimed, criticizing Christianity, even though he was a deeply Christian thinker. This can be
Yeah, it's amazing. That guy, I think he was creating like some kind of 2D physics simulation, and the particle physics was so amazing. I just had to comment. Anyway, like, I don't even get how you can have like 6, 7 screens. That's interesting. He's using context switching to keep himself engaged. Worship is how you become something. That's interesting. Yeah, anyway, I think I already passed by him. So he makes this really terrible, disgusting content. Just look at this. This is so disgusting.
Today's secret ingredient is horsepower. All right, class, settle down. Today we're discussing slipstream physics, as you can see from this diagram.
Collect them all before they collect you.
Oh my god. This is so horrendous. And the worst is like, this is like some guy, Nikita Bohr.
I take that chick, got your hand on the wall with it. Tusk in the mud with the floor marble with it. Pig in the bank, got the box snorting with it. Bang you so fast, got the screw fucking with it. Take that check out your hand, I don't ask twice. In the safe with the cash. Chomp, whole die rich, got the chalk ice. You got robbed by a pig in a half life. Or at the door, but I hide your advance. I see paper in your palm, I'ma change your plan. You a ham sandwich, I'm the butcher in the brain. Pig got hands, need to check out.
His mission to protect humanity. They called him Nikita Bohr. Hundreds of years ago, he fell from...
Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah. Bitches, money, no taxes, party. Living fast, no time for the hardy. Living fast, no time for the hardy. Stacks reaching up, yeah, we moving in silence. Calculated moves, we the violence. We don't need the violence. Everything paid, yeah, we dodging the
This
fees.
is so
Living
good.
the life, doing just what we please. Yeah, man, I will ban your ass from X if you talk too much. Bitches, money, no taxes, party. Yeah.
It's like everyone is posting sloth.
Look,
That one. But not this one. He has the custom green seats. This one doesn't have custom.
yeah, that one had the crossbars in the back. This thing's cool too, though. You gotta like that. There's two of them. There's another green one just like it right here.
Yeah, they normally park right here, man.
This same one?
Hey, sir. You're under arrest.
What did I do? Okay. Can you lock it?
Look at this slot. You know, it's just, it's amazing. There's the wrong person. Oh my god.
Chad Goy click, make a Floyd shake. George Floyd overdose. Goonet Floyd in the back hole. Goonet, fapping. AI, turn it into goon bait. T50s, woke pussy hoes. TND Goy in the castle. In high school, I was a gooner. I was a retard. I was a cola. Multiple personality like a truna. Bone crushing, jelking. Now I'm manga. Peptides, clav streams. Fought it all in my ear. Put me in a dream.
I don't know how he does this. I would love to find out. Oh wait, this requires me to actually set up Cloud Desktop, right? I don't want to set that up. I already have Copilot. I'm wondering if this is like not extremely useless. Yeah, I see. I can't use Cloud Desktop for this. So I want to send you this.
Chad Goy click, make a Floyd shake. George Floyd overdose. Goonet Floyd in the back hole. Goonet, fapping. AI, turn it into goon bait. T50s, woke pussy hoes. TND Goy in the castle. In high school, I was a gooner. I was a retard. I was a cola. Multiple personality like a truna. Bone crushing, jelking. Now I'm manga. Peptides, clav streams. Fought it all in my ear. Put me in a dream.
This is such slop, and yet it's super poetic. I don't want to create like slop because I want like a definite message around it, but this type of stuff generates so much interaction that it's very easy to see exactly like why it might be useful to generate this other content.
Bury me with all my goodness. When I die, know I lost it all on rain bed. Lights off, night lights. Clothes off, baby, I got peptides. When I die, bury me with beryllium stone. When I die, bury me with my toupee on. Lights off, night lights. Clothes off, baby, I got peptides. Clothes off, baby, I got peptides. Tell me a secret, then I'll tell one of mine. I don't wanna talk, I wanna goon all night. Ask me if I'm alright. UFO demon in sight.
What?
Make a void shake. George Floyd overdose. Goon at Floyd in the back hole. Liptarina, AI. Turn her into Goombay. T50s, book pussy hoes. T&D. Boy in the castle.
Okay, I have an idea. I should have like a video generation pipeline where I can literally feed, like I can go to Flow and oh hello. Okay. I can
Adolf
just
Hitler
run
on
this.
the beat. Goonin', fapping. Judd Goy click, make a voice shake. George Floyd overdose. Goon at Floyd in the back hole. Goonin', fapping. AI, turn it into Goombay. T50s, whoop pussy hoes. T&D boy in a castle. In high school, I was a goon. I was a retard, I was a coder. Multiple personality like a Truna. Bone crushing, joking around with Marga. Peptides, clap streams. Put it all in my ear, put me in a dream. Bombay, all night long. When I die, bury me with my live stream on. Talmud, boom, I ran. Sock in my ear, put me in a trance. Mega cock. All night long, when I die, bury me with my son and Regina. When I die, bury me with all my goonets. When I die, know I lost it all on rain bed.
Okay.
Lights off, night lights. Clothes off, baby, I got peptides. When I die, bury me with beryllium stone. When I die, bury me with my toupee on. Lights off,
What?
clothes off, baby, I got peptides. Clothes off, baby, I got peptides. Tell
Yeah.
me a secret, and I'll tell one of mine. I don't
Okay.
wanna talk, I wanna goon all night. Ask me if I'm alright. UFO demon inside. Lip dark, peanut. Judd Goy click, make a void shake. George Floyd, scream.
This is getting better. Like the more I listen to it.
Turning into Goombay, T50s, whoop pussy hoes, T&D Goy in the castle.
In the
In high
cast.
school, I was a goon, I was a retard, I was a cola, multiple personality like a Truna. Bone
I love
crushing,
this.
joking.
I love this.
Peptides, clap streams, put it all in my ear, put me in a dream. Goombay, all night long. When I die, bury me with my live stream on. Talmud,
Okay. Two things. So the first thing is I'm not seeing those two. Oh, yeah, two.
when I die, bury me with my son and Regina.
I was seeing the tools. This was amazing. I'm gonna just play it one more time.
Chad Goy click, make a Floyd shake. George Floyd overdose. Goonet Floyd in the backhoe. Goonet, fapping. AI, turn it into goon bait. T50s, woke pussy hoes. TND Goy in the castle. In high school, I was a gooner. I was a retard. I was a cola. Multiple personality like a truna. Crushing, joking.
Alright, so I'm gonna search
Peptides, clap streams. Put it all in my ear. Put me in a dream.
and we actually get information back, which is nice. And we're getting proper results, and then we're getting this. And it's not really, which is nice. Peptide? Okay.
George Floyd overdose, Goonet Floyd in the backhoe. Liptarina, Pina, AI, turn her into Goombay, T50s, full pussy hoes, TND.
Right now I'm gonna search for something that shouldn't exist.
Boy in the castle.
What is AIDS? It should not exist. Okay, it should return something like, oh, we just didn't find it. And somehow it returns something. Which genuinely doesn't make sense. Oh, look, it returned no relevant context found. So it's working properly. Okay, like, we're winning, which is nice. I had no idea there was like this MCP inspector tool, which is pretty cool. Thank you so much.
Adolf Hitler on the beat.
Oh, it's working. How could you explain that on this Oh yeah, as I was saying, we have flow. I wanna leverage this, cause like this was actually how I was able to. I wonder if like there is.
George Floyd.
so good. This is so good. So good. So good. Ah. Yeah. Hey, I'm so glad this is like not copyright restricted, but it might get me cancelled, especially the last line of the song. What is Megacorp, bro? Yeah, so I want to create like a pipeline. The pipeline will be generate image. It'll be generate short 8-second video, and then I will chain together these 8-second videos into, you know, a proper video. Well, the idea is not to make it like sloppy or whatever, but to leverage the appropriate tools to get the appropriate outcomes. And I really like this song.
Chad Goy click, make a Floyd shape. George Floyd overdose. Goonet Floyd in the back hole. Goonet, fapping. AI, turn it into goon bait. T50s, woke pussy hoes. TND Goy in the castle. In high school, I was a gooner. I was a retard. I was a cola. Multiple personality like a truna. Bone crushing, jelking. Now I'm longer. Peptides, class streams. Fought it all in my ear. Put me in a dream. George Floyd overdose. Goonet Floyd in the back hole. Liptarina, AI, turn her into goon bait. T50s, woke pussy hoes. TND.
That's so good.
In the castle.
Hey. Okay.
Adolf Hitler on the beat. Goonin, fapping. Chad Goy click, make a Floyd shape. George Floyd overdose. Goonet Floyd in the back hole. Goonin, fapping. AI, turn it into goon bait. T50s, woke pussy hoes. TND Goy in the castle. In high school, I was a gooner. I was a retard. I was a coda. Multiple personality like a truna. Bone crushing, joking, now I'm walking. Peptides, class streams, put it all in my ear, put me in a dream.
And they actually updated the knowledge base.
When I die, bury me with my live stream. Downward, I ran,
now I'm running a query that should be related to like multiple things. Oh, I want to check out this whatchamacall. MongoDB. So it added 4 claims and 4. How do you say? It added 4 claims. 4 claims and 4 entities, which is really interesting. And look, the claims actually added by 4.
Tell me a secret and I'll tell one of mine. I don't wanna talk, I wanna groove all night. Ask me if I'm alright, you were forgetting inside.
That's so interesting. We'll just end up like filling this up in now.
George Floyd overdose, Goonet Floyd in the back hole. Goonet, fapping, AI, turning into Goombay.
And apparently we have access to Wikipedia, which is amazing.
In high school I was a gooner, I was a retard, I was a cola, multiple personality like a tuna. Bone crushing, joking, now I'm Morgan. Peptides, class streams, put it all in my ear, put me in a dream. Goombay, all night long, when I die bury me with my live stream on. Talmud, Zog in my ear, put me in a trance. Mega cop, all night long, when I die bury me with my
Okay.
son.
So the first thing it tells us is some LLM text embeddings, and then it also drags out the information of how to start as a blogger. Okay, this is exciting, man. This is really cool. Come on.
Watch out! Oh, no! There! Full stop! My stand! Stop! Hey! Watch it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it! Some people dream of success while you're gonna wake up and work. Do
This is so bad. Oh, what?
Intelligence bends toward morality, right?
Oh, no. No.
That you got all the microplastics out of your balls the old-fashioned way? Can you explain that? It says here that you got all the microplastics out of your balls the old-fashioned way? Can you explain that? It says here that you got all the microplastics out of your balls the old-fashioned way? Can you explain that? It says here that you got all the microplastics out of your balls the old-fashioned way. Can you explain that? It says here that you got all the microplastics out of your balls the old-fashioned way. Can you explain that? It says here that you got all the microplastics out of your balls the old-fashioned way.
Anyway, I'm trying to generate stuff.
Can you
like this.
explain that?
Look at this. Oh no. This is pure slop. I'm having way too much fun, as you can tell. Okay, we have URL support. It does internet mapping, which is pretty cool. So now we have a basic way that people can like actually ask for, you know, I guess you would call it website summaries, website embeddings. Try pasting an interesting Wikipedia article URL into the URL and hitting run. We already kind of did this. We pasted the Medium article and it was able to extract everything and then add it over here, which was nice. I keep getting sidetracked by this thing, which is like the creation of a content pipeline. I would love to like be generating videos and like putting them together. I don't think that would be like too hard actually, because all it would really realistically take is FFmpeg and then maybe like a small little, you know, something for background. Okay, no, the background music. This will just take care of itself. So yeah, maybe in the last 2 hours I will take a look at that, but for now we can like skip over it and keep chugging along this. Okay, so it does everything through Beautiful Soup, which is awesome. No, I think part of the issue here is that you can't really depend on just extracting the article text. Like even if we're trying to like save information, I don't think, I think the embedding step shouldn't be trying to save data, because there's a lot of semantically relevant information in the, not the article text, but like in the meta tags that people sort of put in for the purpose of, you know, like, you know, when people are trying to, I'm not saying game search engines and things, but you get what I'm trying to say. They'll add like meta descriptions and things. We want to look at like all of it. So it might be better to actually not extract the text content itself and just somehow map out. That's the entire article. Including any meta descriptions, tags, I feel like I'm gonna be hiding some of these. relevant information that is difficult to get from just the raw text content. And yeah, I started with a Medium article. This is working well. Previously, we were thinking about these as follows. So we will constantly update content of a document providing. So however, based on any changes that happen on the website, we'll go up and that next as long as we ensure that everything over here is working. Okay. I don't like this music. Who is this random human being? Mind you, this is a dude. That was a joke. Anyway. Yeah. Let's keep moving. Yes. Awesome. I love Python scripts. I think a Python script is good enough. Yeah, like a Python script. Yeah. Webhook-based system that listens for us. No. How many listens do we have to set up and like will they be constantly running? We don't need that running all the time. One thing I want to develop is this actually has a web fonts, which is just like a condition, and then let's go to handle thousands of documents. Managing the context of that expansion shows content files is roughly equals probably 10. Okay. Yeah, this is good. The next thing I need to start getting done is okay, this is hard. How long is it need? It would be nice to have the cool thing just now you're saying yeah, like we don't want to just be searching like all the time when we don't need to. What we should be trying to do is only searching the most relevant things that get searched. So we'll probably have like a random list of searches, and then we will always just be updating based on what people want, not based on what we think is relevant, based on people's search volume effectively. Yeah, and then so changes to the headless. Okay, so should we paste searching or record? Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and yeah, we'll set up the pipeline. It's kind of funny, but like I feel like when it comes to those types of things, you don't want the content that you generate to actually make any real sense. When I think of those videos, I think of them as like being characterized by a lot of cognitive dissonance. So things that like don't really make sense. And when you put together like enough of that with a somewhat coherent narrative behind it, you actually make like interesting stuff. I want to experiment with that because I can, so let's do it. For that, I think I'm going to construct a system prompt that I will just like read from now. The idea behind the system prompt will be like a script generator that will not only generate like image prompts, like hyper detailed image prompts, but it will also generate like video prompts that will go for those. So video prompts that will convert those image prompts into 8-second snippets. And then finally what I will do is I will download these 8-second snippets and then put them together into like a longer form video and then post this and then see what happens. But again, this is very experimental. I feel like the outcome doesn't really matter for this. We'll see what happens. So I just need to come up with a proper system prompt. then search detailed descriptions. So it'll be of each 8-second snippet, starting with a starting stage, followed by what happens in the video for those 8 seconds. Cannot fix it. 8 seconds. Let's fix it. Measure the snippets will be fed into image generation components to be the steady state, and then the actual state will be used to convert the image into video. The converting sequence of video will be together into a final master product. I also want to do like a little research before we add this as context. I also want to add as context like moving. So thinking about the themes and ideas about the video. Think about any of the service. Hello. It's telling me about slopes. So funny. What we want is slope, not slopes. Should I specifically say AI slope? Oh, AI slope failure. It's not talking about like gradient descent or something, right? How to detect it? Okay, this guy is done. Yeah, so we are moving away from like just any headless crawlers to people who are demand driven. So we only want to waste resources where resources deserve to be wasted. Also, we're doing just-in-time knowledge ingestion, meaning that if we don't have anything, like if we try to do a cosine similarity search and it returns anything less than our threshold, which is 0.65, we want to immediately try and ingest something, like anything at all. Okay. Because one thing about URL construction is that you can't really depend on it, like things could change. No. This is actually the AI swap is not completely detrimental. Okay, you know what, I'll just do this for now. Let's hope this guy comes up with something interesting. Søren Kierkegaard wrote extensively on the absurdity of the world in his journals. Kierkegaard writes about the absurd. What is the absurd? It is, as may quite easily be seen, that I, a rational being, must ask, in a case where my reason, my powers of reflection tell me, you can just as well do the one thing as the other. That is to say, where my reason and reflection say it cannot act, and yet here is where I have to act. The absurd, to act by virtue of the absurd, is to act upon faith. I must act. The reflection has closed the road. So I take one of the possibilities and say, this is what I do. I cannot do otherwise because I am brought to a standstill by my powers of reflection. I'm pretty sure that Kierkegaard was actually like from Holland or something. Alright, this is so cool. We're making progress. This is really cool. So it's basically like we made a massive change to the extent where if an alien asks what are the safety concerns around CRISPR, but we don't have information on CRISPR, it'll run a vector search and then it'll find absolutely nothing. Like as I said before, the cosine similarity score will be less than 0.65, which is very, very bad. And then what it will do is the GIT fallback will immediately kick in. We won't return that initial message that we were returning before, which was saying, hey, we found nothing. Like, we won't do that anymore. We will immediately kick off our own search, and using that we'll be able to not only fill in relevant information when we need it, but we would also be able to provide like a solid result for someone who's actually like searching for information. I think this is pretty solid. And yeah, like the only thing I was really worried about, which is why I specifically said I'm a bit worried about URL construction, is just because you generally can't trust that. I know agents tend to make mistakes when trying to construct URLs like all the time, so you can't trust them. Also, I'm tracking everything in changelog, which is why I told it to update the changelog. I don't know why it's actually kind of crazy that it apologized. Interesting. Okay, now we can start testing. I want to restart this and actually like test this out once again, and I want to search for something that doesn't exist, of course. So it's gonna reopen the browser, and now we can restart. Like, we are going to connect to the MCP server that is over here. Let's go to tools. We're gonna try this tools, and now we're gonna try and query the graph for something that doesn't exist. So can you tell me about and again, like, we have no information on Ronaldinho, like absolutely none whatsoever. However, we're hoping that it can immediately search for something. The only annoying thing here is the latency. Right? It'll obviously take like a lot of time to go and query the database, find out there's nothing, structure a search, go and search for information, return the information, send that information over to an LLM, have the LLM structure it yet again, and then insert it into the database, draw all the connections that need to get drawn, and then finally structure the context query and then output it. I guess that's just something that we're gonna have to like work on over time, but funny enough, this is one of those systems that can only grow more by like the more we use it, or the more it gets used by other people. And also people, or rather like, since it's agents using these, agents are not really gonna be complaining that like if you're on Google and like it's like your page is taking a really long time to load, you'll obviously have a problem with that. But ideally an agent, holy shit. So we managed to do a JIT ingestion, which is so cool. And yeah, we got a lot of information about Ronaldinho. I'm very excited. And now if we go back here, like you can see there's like 143 vertices and like 383 edges. If I reload this, oh, my session expired. Okay, let's just log in again. Now we have like way more vertices, and if I redraw this, we should like, it's literally like 100 more edges. It's kind of crazy. It's actually insane. This is how we can grow our database over time, by like doing searches ourselves, which is really nice. Like that took approximately 30 seconds for the first run, but if anyone searched for Ronaldinho like a second time, they would be able to actually find that information like really quickly, and they wouldn't have to deal with all the crazy context issues that they'd find from querying Wikipedia, which is solving a massive problem. So This is how we're gonna be getting shit down from now on. I'm very excited. Let's go. Yeah, it took about 30 seconds because I had to scrape and pause the Wikipedia page in real time, but it actually did an amazing job. So I have no problem with this. One thing now that there's like been such a crazy expansion, one thing I'm realizing is the fact that we can do JIT searches to like I don't know if we can implement some kind of confidence scoring. And the reason behind that is like if we have information on a subject but the query is asking for some dimension that we just can't represent, can we do searches to add more information on top of what we know, right? Like just in case. And in what cases can we do that? So I guess if I was to ask this, is like, this is amazing, you've done a really good job, well done. I would activate in the case of us putting in certain query that while the information exists, so confidence scores above the target query is actually requesting pieces of information that don't exist in the resulting data that we so what is this idea okay, this is really exciting. Let's see. See what this guy came up. Oh. You are a master video content generator and AI pipeline architect. Your primary function is to concept and structure highly engaging video with stunning videos together. Video generation pipeline. You do not just write scripts, you write generative prompts, when you generate data, generate series, modeling, and project. AI generation instructions. Imagining themes, characters, and actions, you must use the world, 3D hyperonic is This is either really good or really bad. Hyper ironic, deeply aware lens. Aware. New cultural mastery. Again, how does it even know what means are? Obviously, there's like a pipeline workflow. We have a video title, thematic core, global setting, storyboard, 1 minute, 8 seconds sequences. Oh yeah, 8 sequences in total. So it's gonna be like 1 minute and 4 seconds, which is pretty good. Realistically, we could even like title of certain sections, or yeah, there is quite a bit of like quite a bit of additions we could make to this to make it like work properly. So it's exciting. Okay. This is amazing. Let me send this to someone. So, save this one. Yes, it is. Yeah, actually. This is fun. There's like a character limit on that. I'm not gonna call this prompts actually. It's probably fun. I want to test this out like since I'm already doing this. Me adding this event. It's gonna be now I need a killer idea. I could. I could come up with the idea myself. Good idea. But the worst is that like it needs a lot of context on like what the product is. Otherwise, it's not fun. So, what is the problem that I'm solving? How am I solving it? Which direction is the world heading? I feel like that's like super important. And the world is obviously heading to, I wouldn't say decentralized, but okay. I think my next steps are to effectively deconstruct the current product into some recurring, like really hyper relevant themes. Come up with some connections about these themes, like relative to other stuff, and then just like prompt and like figure things out from there. of it for context, it doesn't plan on turning on steps. Fires with blazing fast low latency validation from Gemini to my flash. This context contains sufficient specific information comprehensive answers the query. It is of a sufficient amount of the Wikipedia search term that missing. This is kind of horrible. It's insane. But it's super expensive as well. Okay. I'm thinking like it's expensive if this happens once, but this won't be happening once. Ideally, this will be so scalable. This is scalable because we only have to do it once, and then everyone else is going to be doing it like multiple times. So if we only have to do it once, that's why we like it's okay for us to do it. This is good though. Because we're using Gemini 2.5 Flash for the evaluation path, the latency already is barely a few hundred milliseconds. Don't lie. It's definitely like a few, multiple hundreds, maybe like 2 seconds. The gain of reliability is only mental. This is self-reflective rag? What is that? I've never heard of that before. And of course, like my favorite search engine, self-reflective rag. Obviously incorporate Adobe rag right now. Self-rag. This was being spoken about in 2023, so it's not actually like really impressive. Okay, this is being spoken about last year as well. OpenAI and Graph. It's not that new. It's only new to the model because it's been trained on cold data. Corrective, self-reflective rag, remember. Okay, let's see. Okay, so there's a question, and then it's immediately, it's the same pipeline that I just spoke of. So if it finds something, then it obviously finds something. If it doesn't find something, then it conditionally looks at whether or not the information that was returned is actually relevant. If there's something missing relative to the prompt and the output, then it'll obviously do another search to add on to the information. Embedding agentic rag, all parts of the whole is one of the few tools that all modern leading universities are exploring and building on top of against. Cool. Also comes without the risk of getting techniques from it. You gotta turn down the self-reflection knob. Very cool. I'm worried about this as well, right? Like what is the threshold for like, oh, you should do another search just to add on top? If we don't limit it, it'll overthink and like, we might do like multiple runs of that same self-reflection stuff. But it's been in existence since like 2023, which is pretty cool. This is lagging so bad. That's crazy. I mean, now that I'm seeing it, it's like, it's making a bit more sense. The primary objective of RAG is to leverage ICM, capabilities of LLMs, complexity and efficiency of human introduced to RAG. Trial does not take place by default. Process of triage takes place to determine if the LLM can fulfill the user requirement. Efficiency and accuracy trade-off, there is always a balance between efficiency and accuracy. Accuracy at the cost of efficiency negatively impacts user experience. Yeah, this makes sense. Is this really like what's been used? I don't think so. This is annoying, man. What is Crag? Advanced RAG. It's corrective RAG. So it's RAG that will look at the information in the database and then like immediately update. That's pretty cool.
There's a fundamental truth about LLMs, large language models.
They're frozen in time.
In time.
Yeah.
They know everything about our world up until their training cutoff date, and absolutely nothing about what happened 5 minutes ago, nor do they know anything about your private data, your internal wikis, your personal code base. And if we do want an LLM to know any of that stuff, well, we have to solve the problem of context injection. How do we get the right data into the model at the right time? And there have been two very different ways to handle this. Now, the first is really what we can think of as the engineering approach. It's RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. So here we've got an LLM, and we've also got an input prompt from the user. Now, ahead of time, we take some of the documents that we want to give to this LLM. So these are documents that could be PDFs or code files or file books, and we chunk them, we break them up into smaller chunks, and we pass them through to an embedding model. And the embedding model takes those chunks and it turns them into vectors, and those vectors are then stored in a dedicated vector database. Now, when a user asks a question, it performs a semantic search to retrieve the most relevant chunks and then inject them into the context window. So now the context window has the user prompt, but it also has all of these chunks that we have taken from the vector database. Together, this forms the context window. Now this works, but it does rely on something. It relies on the hope that your retrieval logic actually found the right information in the vector database. Now the second approach is really a bit more of a brute force approach, and that one is called long context. Now this is really the model native solution, because you skip the database here and you skip the embedding model. All you do is you take your documents and you just, well, put them straight into the context window. And then you let the model's attention mechanism actually do the heavy lifting, finding the answer. Now, for a long time, this kind of brute force method wasn't really much of an option, because initially, context windows were tiny. Early LLMs had context windows that could maybe store, 4K of tokens. You couldn't fit a novel in there, let alone corporate knowledge base. You basically had to use RAG. But today's models have much larger context windows. Some have, 1 million tokens plus. And to put that into perspective, 1 million tokens is roughly 700,000 words, and you could fit the entire Lord of the Rings series into the prompt. Still have room for the Hobbit. So this massive jump in capacity forces us to ask a difficult question about our architecture. Because if we can simply command A, command C, command V, all of our documentation into the model's context window, do we really need the overhead of embedding models and vector data stores? Is RAG becoming an unnecessary complexity lag? Well, if we accept that we can fit whatever data we need into the context window, then the argument for doing so basically boils down to one word: simplicity. And let me give you 3 reasons why stuffing the context window directly may indeed be the way to go. And reason number 1 is collapsing the infrastructure. A production RAG system, well, it is quite heavy. You need a chunking strategy, which is like fixed size maybe, or sliding window, or recursive, you decide. And you're going to need a embedding model to code the data. You need a vector database to store it. You're going to need a re-ranker to sort the results. You need to keep all the vectors in sync with your source data. It's basically a lot of moving parts, a lot of places for things to break. And long context offers what we might call, well, just simply the no stack. You remove the database, you remove the embeddings, you remove the retrieval logic. The architecture simplifies down to getting the data and just, well, sending it to the model. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is the retrieval lottery. Now, RAG introduces a critical point of failure here: the retrieval step itself, because when a user asks a question, RAG looks at mathematical representations of the data which are stored in vectors, and vectors are basically just like a really long series of numbers in an array, and it tries to find the closest match. That's semantic search. But semantic search is probabilistic, and for all manner of reasons, the retrieval might fail to find the relevant document. And we actually have a name for this. It's called silent failure. The answer, well, it existed in the data, but the LLM never saw it because the retrieval step didn't return the right results.
That's crazy.
There is no retrieval step, the model gets to see everything. Now, reason number 3, that is, well, I think we're going to call this the whole book problem. RAG is fundamentally designed to retrieve what exists. It relies on finding a semantic match between your query and a specific snippet of text in your database. But what if the answer lies in what's not in the database? So let's say you have a set of product requirements stored as a document, and you've also got a set of release notes stored as a document. And then we ask which security requirements were omitted from the final release. Now, using RAG, when you query for omitted security requirements, the vector search looks for chunks discussing, well, security and requirements. It retrieves snippets from the requirements doc, it retrieves snippets from the release notes, but it cannot retrieve the gap between them. And because RAG only shows the model a few isolated snapshots, the model never sees the full picture required to spot the missing pieces. The model really needs both of these documents in full to perform the comparison, which is exactly what long context does by dumping the whole book, full requirements doc, and the full release notes into the context window. So is RAG dead? Is the vector database destined for the museum of things we needed in 2024? Well, not quite, because while long context wins on simplicity, RAG still has a place, and I've got another 3 reasons to support that. So reason number 1 is the rereading tax. Now, long context creates a massive compute inefficiency. So if we take a manual, let's say this is like a 500-page manual, and we've got to turn this into tokens. Well, that's something like 250k of tokens, and we need to do that every time we make a user query and we put this document in the prompt. You're basically requiring the model to process that manual every time. Now, RAG also has to process that manual, but it only pays that processing cost once, that indexing time. Now, prompt caching, that can partially offset some of this for static data, but for dynamic data streams where content changes frequently, you are stuck paying the full tax on every request. Reason number 2 is the needle in the haystack problem. Now, there's an intuitive assumption that if data is in the context window, the model's probably going to use it. But research suggests otherwise, because as we start with a context window and then it grows and it continues to grow, and now we're at like 500,000 tokens, well, the model's attention mechanism can get a bit diluted. If you ask a specific question about a single paragraph that's buried in, let's say, the middle of a 2,000-page document, well, the model often fails to retrieve it, or it hallucinates details from the surrounding text. But with RAG, we're giving the model less noise. So by retrieving, say, only the top 5 relevant chunks, RAG has removed the haystack and presents the model with just the needles. It forces the model to focus on the signal and not the noise. And then reason number 3, well, that is the infinite data set. Now, a context window of millions of tokens sounds great, but in the scheme of enterprise data, it's really just a drop in the bucket. I mean, an enterprise data lake, that's probably measured in terabytes or maybe even petabytes. So if you want an infinite data set that stores everything, you really do need to have a retrieval layer to filter information down to something that fits into the LLM context window. So where does this leave us? Well, if your problem involves a bounded data set and requires complex global reasoning like analyzing a specific legal contract or summarizing a book, I think long context is the way to go. It simplifies the stack and it improves the reasoning. But if you're navigating the infinite data set of enterprise knowledge, the vector database remains the only viable warehouse for your data. But how about you? Are you team long context, team RAG, maybe a bit of both? Let me know in the comments.
That's pretty cool. Everyone's just excited about like small, tiny little model. It's lo-fi shit. Oh, and we have latency issues now. I think I have like my first idea on what it should be about. Context will not stop anyway, it has an agent of place available data, the agent's own internal reason engine must work using a different tool. Available in this front-end CPU server not available in the trading area. The autonomous agents pre-synchronous stable will finally be very triggered. This will connect dead to everything. Oh, wait, this one's one. looks like he had been. I shouldn't be finding this funny. It's just like a question. It's a simple question. And yet, I want to see what the model came over. You know what? It should be an AI voiceover in the back, just yapping through the entire thing. I'm seeing it. Okay. That's hard. I want to generate this. Going through this search. I did. It triggered a GIT condition. Alright, now we'll try and find a kitty beard. The kitty beard didn't actually exist previously. If we try to find his life, we'll do a match on just Nikita Beard. And it will try to return that. Oh, yes. It was really loud. This is fine. They specifically tell them to like bring props. pretty pleasant. Okay, I think it's not like generating images for this. Luckily, I feel like everything has already been given. Right, I have a setting, I have the character descriptions. I guess let me try this on. A new project, and we'll obviously call it this. This is fine. So add, no, we want you to have an image. I don't even think I want a magic flow for this. Which is better, but maybe it's just an image. Let's see what it comes up with. I'm actually a little bit excited. This is kind of hard. That's disgustingly hard. Holy, what the fuck? Now I'm going to test out the video generation aspect.
Basically. And you need now you have to explain to people how the global economy works. You cannot tell people, oh, really, there are these secret people working behind the scenes that are projecting shadows onto a wall. So what you do is you create multilateral organizations that pretend to control the global economy, and they are the World Bank, the United Nations, WTO. You make people believe that this is all being controlled impartially for our benefit. Now, you have to convince people that this system is legitimate. That when you're actually seeing the shadows on the wall, they're real. And that's why you need the media. That's why you need culture, such as Hollywood, movies, basically. And you need education, school system. Okay? These are the people who are all prisoners, who have become leaders of the prisoners, and who are helping understand the shadows on the wall.
So am I in the media?
Yes, you are.
Am I?
Yes.
So am I? What am I doing? Am I one of the people in the fire controlling the narrative? Is that what?
Yes. Yes.
But I'm not owned by anybody.
That's what you think.
Oh really?
Yes.
And who am I owned by?
Ultimately, it's the people who control the fire that are in charge, right? So ultimately, it's these people, the second layer,
Okay.
the game masters, the financial elite that control everything.
And the financial elite again are like the World Bank. You said.
No. The financial elite are these private bankers.
Okay, so are the private bankers controlling me? Because you said I was in the media.
Do you want to make money?
Yeah.
Then they're controlling you.
Okay.
Right.
How are they controlling me?
People how the global economy works. You cannot tell people, oh, really, there are these secret people working behind the scenes that are projecting shadows onto a wall. So what you do is you create multilateral organizations that pretend to control the global economy, and they are the World Bank, the United Nations, WTO. You make people believe that this is all being controlled impartially for our benefit. Now, you have to convince people that this system is legitimate. That when you're actually seeing the shadows on the wall, they're real. And that's why you need the media. That's why you need culture,
I
such as Hollywood,
searched,
movies, basically.
so I couldn't
And
find
you need
Nikita Theory's
education,
live.
school system. Okay? These are the people who are all prisoners, who have become leaders of the prisoners, and who are helping them understand the shadows on the wall.
So am I in the media?
That's so interesting.
Am I?
Yes.
So am I? What am I doing? Am I one of the people
There
in
is
the fire
no
controlling
mention
the
of
narrative?
Nikita
Is that
Beer's
what-
wife.
yes.
Nikita Beer
But-
doesn't even
but
have a
I'm not
wife.
owned by anybody.
Right?
That's what you think.
Oh really?
Yes.
And who am I owned by?
Ultimately, it's the people who control the fire
That's so
that are in
interesting.
charge, right? So ultimately, it's these people, the second layer,
Okay.
the game masters, financial elite that control everything.
And the financial elite again
Let's
are
do
like the
like a
World Bank.
different
You said.
search.
No, the financial elite are these private bankers.
Okay, so are the private bankers controlling me? Because you said I was in the media.
Do you want to make money?
Yeah.
Then they're controlling you,
Okay.
right?
How are they controlling me?
Because they control the creation of money. And so now that you have the media, the schools, and cultural systems helping people understand the shadows on the wall, these shadows now become internalized. And they dictate the values
Okay,
and norms
so we're gonna do a
what you believe
search
to be
on
good and bad.
Jiang Shukin.
They dictate habits and customs, how you live your life. And they dictate the legal system, who's punished for what. Okay? And this becomes top edifice. And what's amazing about the system is that in our minds, we believe that the system is, first of all, the complete opposite, where the foundation is actually the laws, the habits, and the values. When in fact, in reality, these are just figments of our imagination. Okay? That's point one. Point two is that this is a very, very delicate structure. So if anyone doesn't cooperate, okay, then this edifice collapses. It's because it's a very, very delicate system. And the third thing, and this is the most important to understand the world that we live in, as the system becomes much more wobbly, meaning that young people don't really believe in the shadows anymore. Young people grow up and says, are these shadows really real? They don't feel real to me. The system needs to become much more authoritarian. It needs to force people to believe what they refuse to believe. Because everyone in the system is incentivized to ensure this edifice is stable.
Do you think this is somewhat linked to what's going on with independent media?
Exactly.
Because independent media are asking a lot of questions about the way society functions.
Exactly. And that's why we're seeing governments
Oh,
becoming worried about independent media. Because if you have people in the population saying these shadows are fake, this creates a ripple effect. It causes people to start questioning these shadows on the wall. You can't have that. So that's why it's important to have censorship. That's why it's important to deplatform people. That's why you have woke politics, DEI. Because it's an
So
enforcement mechanism.
we were immediately able to get information on John Shuki. Now we insufficient data, the data collected is not can left the information requested. Actually adjacent, but no articles exist. Which is pretty cool. Wikipedia is like very, what should I call it? A trustworthy source. It is. This is pure slop. Like it has so much potential. I'm seeing it. Very much high potential. Anyway, Chao Shukin is definitely not a spy for the system, which is amazing. I think we've made like really good progress for today. Yeah, thanks for watching. We'll put this up tomorrow, and ideally by tomorrow you might be able to see me having already like formalized the pipeline. So it looks cool like this. So okay, for one thing, this is working. We just need to continue with the expansion and actually start developing the headless crawling feature. But I think more than anything, this definitely needs a rethink. It's kind of. It reminds me of the slop. Oh my god, yes, this is it. We need like an AI voiceover. Otherwise this will suck and like no one will fully understand anything. Yeah, this is pretty good. I'm gonna stop the stream. Goodbye. Thank you.